Last week on the Jacob Pyle Show.
Yeah, basically, ever since I was a kid, even just watching cartoons, I would always try to imitate the voices on the TV. And I've gotten really good at it. And even through high school, I was like the voice guy where, people would come up and ask me to do a voice and stuff like that. And it never really clicked then that I could actually do that for a living. But you can. What got me really into it was I was working at my insurance job one day, and I was like, you know what? I've got all the equipment already because I've had it for years because I also do music. And I said, hey, let me just give it a shot. And I started auditioning for things and started to slowly kind of grow a reputation.
We will conclude Jacob's conversation with Zach Brown right now on the Jacob Pyle Show. Good morning, and welcome to the Jacob Pyle Show, starring Jacob Pyle, featuring Taryn Ray Smith and Zach Brown. Ladies and gentlemen, from his studios in Kokomo, Indiana, your host, Jacob Pyle.
Thank you, Jeff. And now from her home in Kansas City, Kansas, my co-host, Taryn Ray Smith.
Thanks, Jacob. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jacob Pyle Show for this Saturday night, Sunday morning, April the 18th, 2026. Glad to have you with us. As Jeff mentioned at the top of the show, we are going to be concluding Jacob's conversation with Zach Brown tonight, and we'll have that for you later in the show. Jacob has in front of him a topic and a list of questions that he's going to be asking me, none of which has been shared with me prior to taping. If you're ready, Jacob, let's do this.
Before we get started with our show tonight, I want to bring up something involving our show that many of our viewers don't know. First off, the reason we've been doing these reruns of past guests is that in the past month or two, we have had no guests to interview. We are hoping that we will get some guests rounded up and ready to go for next month's worth of shows. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, our announcer, Jeff Jeffries, will have that information for you later on in the show. Second thing I wanted to mention is that if you guys have watched the Jacob Pyle Show for a long time, we do not delve into political topics or controversial topics. We had a few people reach out to me over the whole thing about, so basically they're building a data center in Kokomo, Taryn, and there's like a lot of people that are against that. And to me, that's just one of those touchy kind of controversial topics I'd rather not get into on the show. So I had to turn the guests down. It's not that I didn't like the guest or the guest's idea. I think it's a great idea. This is just, in my personal opinion, not the right platform to be sharing that stuff. There's far too much going on in the world right now, and I created the Jacob Pyle Show as a safe space, an escape from the everyday world. And a lot of people who watch the show when it comes out live at 1 a.m. on a Sunday morning are either night shift workers or people out drinking in bars. They have enough stuff to deal with Monday through Friday. So this show is where you and I, or me and the guest, can have an honest conversation about anything that's not political or controversial. And the viewers who watch this show and has believed in this show for going on 3 years now has put their faith and trust in me to provide them with good quality content. So that's basically the reason I chose to steer away from that kind of stuff. There is one other thing I wanted to mention as well, and then I'll let you get your thoughts on this too, Taryn. And that is, we have a new mailing address now, in Oakford, Indiana, a town called Oakford, Indiana. So for those who don't know, while I do live in Kokomo, I technically work in a town called Oakford. So what it is, if you are going down 931 going south, when you get to the intersection of 931 and 26, you have two gas stations and the CVS that intersection. You're going to want to turn left and follow that road, and that will, believe it or not, take you right into Oakford. People think, oh, Oakford is technically a part of Kokomo. It's not. Oakford is part of Howard County, but not technically considered Kokomo. So that's what I wanted to share. What are your thoughts on what I just shared?
Yeah, so I agree. I think it's so important to have a safe space online. I've built my whole personal brand on my social media platforms as well on just positivity, positive content. Now, I think it's important to mention that just because whenever, I share positive content, my overall overarching message is always positivity. But that doesn't mean that humans don't have other emotions. I can express anger or sadness or other, low vibrational emotions without it being negative. But I totally agree with you that keeping complex topics that tend to make people bicker or argue or that are polarizing, in my opinion, at least for our platforms, your platform, what I do on my own, what we do together, it's just good to have a space that doesn't have that stuff because people are inundated with it so much on a daily basis as is. So it's just nice and refreshing to find areas that don't focus on that.
I think that, yeah, that's cool. And I think, it's, and I totally get it. Like, I think I mentioned this to you before. The very first time we were supposed to tape the show, we had a co-host hired in, but he was sending me all this, stuff about all this, all this stuff, and I just not feel comfortable talking about it.
Yeah.
And of course, what was the guy's? And of course, you probably guessed the guy's response. He kind of threw all these 4-letter, 5-letter words at me,
That's crazy.
cussing at me, getting angry with me, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you don't like that, And this is the other point I was going to say too. Like, first of all, if you don't like it, you know, get a camera, get a phone, get a tripod, get a space to actually record your stuff and put on your own show
Yeah.
that maybe viewers can do. And
Totally.
two for the viewers that are watching this, it's like, viewers are smart enough to know that, or most viewers are smart enough to know that if they don't like what they're watching, they can always tune into something else,
Yeah.
because there's, like I always say too, there's all other great YouTube creators and other great podcast hosts and producers that put out other great stuff too that I support. You should definitely support too.
Oh yeah,
But
wholeheartedly.
yeah, so I totally get that.
Yeah, I think
So
I mean,
we
go ahead.
go ahead. No,
Oh,
go
I was
ahead.
just gonna agree with you. I was just gonna say, it's funny. Like I've been sharing a lot of my story growing up being a survivor of some pretty dark stuff, some trauma related to my mom, and it's ironic. Like when you're being vulnerable like that, or when you're just sharing what you love, and then sometimes other people come in, whether it's a person who tried to partner with you, or whether it's people in my comment section who will just say the most outlandish things about what I should change about my content and things like that. And I love what you said because it's exactly what I say when I respond to those types of people, which is like, this is my art. This is my project. This is my art baby, and I get to do with it what I want to do with it. And if you don't like that, great. You don't have to watch it because this content is for the people who do want to see that kind of content. And I think that's really good and very independently minded of you to not let anybody else influence because you're certain in who you are and what you want to put forward, and that is a beautiful thing in this world.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. So we still have about roughly 2.5 minutes. Oh, I think I mentioned this last week, but I will mention this again. Taryn Ray Smith's socials is at Taryn Ray Smith, TRERRANRAE Smith, all one word. And if you want to watch your ongoing series on, what was it again?
Oh, well, I've been sharing about my surviving a parent with Munchausen and Munchausen by proxy and factitious disorder, which is a darker topic, but I also share all sorts of different art. I'm a full-time actor. I'm also a professional musician. So
But check out her music.
yeah, just check out my pages. I'll be
Check out
sharing
your pages. Yeah.
there. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and go to our next commercial. So, Taryn, take it away.
We'll be back with part 2 of Jacob's conversation with Zach Brown in a moment. But first, speaking of Zach Brown, here's Zach Brown with this week's On This Date trivia question. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Taryn. All right. So on this date, April 18th, 1963, the Saturday Night Live writer turned late night talk show host was born. Who is this person? We'll have the answer for you when the Jacob Pyle Show continues. Welcome back, everybody. Let's return to this week's On This Date trivia question. All right, so on April 18th, 1963, this Saturday Night Live writer turned late night talk show host was born. Who is this person? Well, the answer is Conan O'Brien. All right, once again, here's Jacob.
Thank you, Zach, and welcome back. If you were with us last week, we showed part 1 of Zach Brown's very first on-camera interview. As Taryn mentioned last week, when Zach first started on the program, he started, believe it or not, as an announcer. And then he would later become our go-to fill-in co-host whenever Taryn or myself aren't here. So, from 2024, here's part 2 of my conversation with Zach Brown. Now, we are going to go ahead and talk about your role on our show, the Jacob Pyle Show. Now, you talked earlier about how your voice is not really seen in a whole lot of commercials except in New Zealand. Now, as the announcer of our show, what do you like? I know the story because I'm the producer and director of the show. But go ahead and you tell us how you and I started working together.
Yeah, so, as with any business, you have several spokes on the wheel. One of those spokes is a website called Upwork, and it's a freelancer website. And Jacob reached out to me, messaged me, and asked me if I'd be interested in being the announcer for the show. And of course, I'm going to jump on that opportunity. So that's how he found me.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened on my end. So I was watching one of your, I was watching a commercial that you did.
Okay.
One of the commercials that you did, and I was listening to it, and it was a strong. I always try to look for announcers on our program to have a strong voice.
Yeah.
I would offer to announce the show myself. But I'm also the host of the show, and that's not really fair for me to do that. So, but I came across one of your commercials, and you did such an amazing job. I thought that, you know what, he might be a good announcer for our program, and there you go. That's how it turned out to be. Now, what do you think of the show so far? You've seen a few episodes.
I love the show. All your guests are very interesting, admirable guests, career people that make a change in the world, and the lives of people around them. So yeah, it's a great show. I love it.
I'm going to ask you the same question Christina Ernie asked me when she conducted our interview for our April Fool's show back in April. Do you have any favorite guests?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Christina Ernie. I actually watched that episode pretty recently, and yeah, it's being a meteorologist is always seemed like a very interesting job to me, and that was a very interesting interview. I would say that she would be maybe my favorite guest, but they're all good. They're all great guests. They're all great individuals. Also, what comes to mind is Frederick Golder, who is an attorney, right? And talking about, interviewing people that, that are doing admirable things. For example, he was getting tired of having to help people settle things through court as a lawyer, which obviously you do. That's your profession. But he actually ended up authoring a book about how to settle conflicts outside of court, So, that just speaks to the caliber of the type of people that you bring onto the show. So, he was great. Christina Ernie was great. Also, speaking of Christina Ernie's episode, I totally would have gotten that tornado question wrong too, about the underpass, because I actually just recently found out that you're not supposed to do that either, and I was really confused by that, because I feel like I was taught that at some point. I don't know, but Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing because I think my favorite guest. I told Christina Ernie this when we did that. But I always say that picking my favorite guest is like trying to figure out which of your kids is your favorite.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you can't do that.
No, but I would say, and I agree with you. Christina Ernie was a good person. Lori, we had a girl on by the name of Lori Kay, and she had we just recently, as of the day we taped this, we recently reshowed her Lori Kay's episode. She was the lady that conducted John Lennon's last interview.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So it was a pretty emotional. It was a pretty emotional episode. So I have to I gotta ask you one other thing too, because I'm just curious. What do you think of we've talked about voice acting today so far.
Yeah.
What do you think of my singing voice?
I don't know if I've heard your singing voice.
I can maybe give you a little something off the top of my head. Let me see.
Your hosting voice is great.
My hosting voice is great. I wouldn't have missed it for the world. Wouldn't have missed it for you, girl.
Yeah?
Yeah. Ronnie Millsap, if you want to look that up.
Oh!
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard
my whole life worthwhile with a smile.
Nice.
Thank you. All right, now, to make you. Now I gotta ask you. I think I asked you this before we taped.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of our little? Now I want to do something with you if you don't mind. We're going to let you do what you do best, which is to demonstrate your vocal abilities, I guess you can say, to our audience.
Sure.
I have written a script for you to read, which I will get that up for you now.
Okay.
But while I'm getting it up, what do you think of our theme music that we use for our show?
I love it. It's classy and timeless. I mean, you could play that theme music 100 years ago, and it would be amazing. You could play that theme music 100 years from now, and it's just classic.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story about the theme music. I wanted to do a late night show. Most late night shows, what time do you go to bed?
I mean, it just varies. I would say a lot of times I don't fall asleep before 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I probably wake up. The latest I go to sleep is maybe like 1 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the morning. But,
yeah.
So sometimes you do get to catch my episodes when they go live.
Mm-hmm.
So,
midnight.
But going back to other late night shows,
mm-hmm.
they have this big band, this big orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
And and what's funny about that is that we had, when we first started doing this show, this was back in September, we were originally going to have a co-host sitting next to me, mm-hmm. and we were going to talk about various topics and things like that, but he wanted to get into topics that, let's just say that what he would think that most people would be interested in at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. In other words, stuff that can't be said on TV. And I simply told him, I'm sorry, we can't, you want to do current event stories, UFO sightings, Ooh. Things like that.
I've seen a UFO.
I don't get into that. I don't get into those kind of topics, unfortunately. And I told him that I'm sorry. We at one time, I'll tell you this one story. This was way back in 2015. We had a guest we used to close the show with an editorial or a current event mm-hmm. thought piece, and we actually had a guest threaten to not be involved with our show anymore.
Oh wow!
Because we weren't because of it. So I said,
because you weren't covering what they wanted to talk about.
I think that's, or I think what it was I guess the current event topic. They were against it, and they didn't want to be a part of it. So I was So I told him I don't feel comfortable doing current event stories anymore.
Sure.
And so and he decided to get all mad at me and things like that, and he was and I kicked him. I had to kick him off the show.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I mean, humanity is a fickle thing. People, there's people that will tell you you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and there's people that just
that don't care.
We'll be back with more of the Jacob Pyle Show in a moment. If you'd like to be a guest on the Jacob Pyle Show, or if you are ordering a DVD copy of tonight's program, send Jacob an email. His email address is jtpyle1@aol.com. Or if you are ordering a DVD copy of tonight's program, send a $10 check or money order to the Jacob Pyle Show, care of Pyle Media Ventures, Post Office Box 130, Oakford, Indiana 46965. Please include the air date seen on your screen when ordering. Residents outside of Indiana add $5 shipping and handling. Sorry, no CODs. Once again, here's Taryn.
COD? Hey Jeff, what's COD?
COD, that stands for cash on delivery. You pay the delivery man cash upon delivery of the product.
Okay, gotcha. Thanks, Jeff. And welcome back to our show. If you are just now joining us, we are replaying a conversation that Jacob did with Zach Brown. So here's the conclusion to that conversation.
Now, when we had to cut for that break, we were talking about favorite episodes and favorite things. I would like to make this one comment, and then we'll let you do your thing. I think I messaged you this before. When we had you record the announcers part of the show, I compared you to what's his name? The guy that did the Disney movies or the Disney trailers back in the day.
Ooh. Oh yeah. I don't know his name, but
yeah.
But I know what you're talking
our
about.
feature presentation,
Right.
Yeah. Something like that.
And now our feature presentation.
Yep, there you go. All right, so I have written you a script that I'm gonna have you read for us now. Here it is.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Alrighty.
And then we are now going to let you show your vocal abilities in front of our audience.
Okay.
All right. And yeah.
All right.
We'll talk after, and we'll talk more about it after.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1.
From the Pyle Media Ventures Studios in Noblesville, Indiana, this is the Jacob Pyle Show with tonight's guest, me, Zachary Brown, and the host of our show, Jacob Pyle.
Awesome. Yes. That was good. All right. Yeah, I'm sure our viewers loved hearing that. Let me just say one thing before we do this. How do you like? I know what I was gonna say. Normally when we tape an episode of the show, you are not actually in the studio with us.
No.
You actually record, like you mentioned earlier. You record your stuff in a separate studio in Indianapolis.
Correct. Yep. I have I basically created a soundproofed studio that I have all of my equipment in, and that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. So basically, Zach's not with us actually in the studio when he does that. I mean, when you watch the episodes, it feels like you're actually with us, but you're not.
Yeah.
So same with Christina Ernie. Christina Ernie lives in Rhode Island, and she was kind enough to do your intro in place of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, what do you think of Christina Ernie?
Yeah, she did a great job.
She did a good job.
Yeah.
And so she's not actually with us in the studio. So yeah, just to kind of give you a little bit of an idea here. So what is your I think we talked about some of your favorite Jacob Pyle Show memories. What so while we have you here in person today, is there anything you want to share with our viewers about the show? Is there anything you want to, because we're going to be, because this coming summer we're going to re-show, beginning with the episode that taped back in September of last year when it was originally Night Talk, and then we're going to re-show excuse me, and then we're going to re-show some of the all the Jacob Pyle Show episodes before we begin our new season in September. Is there anything you want to say?
I mean, I'll be watching. I can say that. I mean, I think we talked about this when I got here, is that coming up here for this next season, you're going to be having basically a setup at, I don't know if I can mention it, but the library, a nearby library that has really good lighting. Mm-hmm. And I can tell Jacob's always improving the show, doing changes and making the best of what he has. And yeah, it's an amazing experience, and you guys should watch every single episode.
Right. Yes, I absolutely have to agree. So we still have about 6 more minutes left of our interview. What would do you have any? I'm trying to think of a good question to ask you, because
sure.
While we have you here, I just want to say too that in front of everybody, you do an amazing job.
Thank you.
You do a wonderful job as our announcer.
I appreciate that.
And I'm just so happy to have you as part of our show.
Happy to be a part of it.
Even though you're not here with us every week, in person, but
I'm here in spirit.
You're here in spirit, and that's the most important thing.
Thanks, you too. If you would like to learn more about Zach Brown, he's really easy to find. You can visit his site at thevoiceguy.com. And that is our show for tonight. From my home in Kansas City, Kansas, I'm Taryn Ray Smith. Good night, Jacob.
Good night, Taryn. And from our studios in Kokomo, Indiana, I'm Jacob Pyle. For all of us on the Jacob Pyle Show, thank you all for watching. Stay safe, and good night, everybody.
I'm Jeff Jeffries. The opinions expressed on this pre-recorded program are solely those of the participants and does not necessarily reflect the views of this program or Pyle Media Ventures Incorporated. Pyle Media Ventures Incorporated produces this program and is solely responsible for its content.